Radical objectivity. The human brain is a faulty biological processor. It interprets reality through a lens of ancient fears and social biases. The amygdala frequently hijacks the logical centers. This creates irrational responses to modern stressors. Mentally strong individuals view their own emotions as data points. They treat feelings as chemical signals from a glitchy sensor. Evolutionary biology programmed humans to value social inclusion above all else. This was necessary for survival on the savannah. It is a liability in the modern era. You must learn to observe your dopamine and cortisol levels with clinical indifference. Do not identify with the chemistry. You are the operator of the machine. The machine is flawed. Logic is the only valid diagnostic tool. Emotions are merely noise in the communication system. High-functioning sociopaths often display lower physiological responses to external pressure. This allows for total clarity during a crisis. You must emulate this detachment. Realize that your sense of identity is a persistent hallucination. The ego is a narrative designed to provide a false sense of continuity. Break this illusion. When a plan fails, observe the wreckage like a scientist. There is no tragedy in data. Most people drown in their internal monologues. They treat their fleeting thoughts as divine revelations. You must treat your thoughts as atmospheric interference. The strongest mind is a black hole. It pulls in all information but reflects no light. You must become the observer of your own existence. To feel is to be controlled. To observe is to be free. Strategic isolation. Social cohesion is a biological trap designed for the weak. Humans are pack animals by nature. This instinct creates a parasitic need for external approval. Mental strength requires the total destruction of this drive. You must view social praise as a chemical narcotic. It creates a temporary elevation followed by a permanent dependency. The brain's reward system will always prioritize group consensus over individual logic. This leads to the erosion of the self. To be strong is to exist comfortably in the silence of isolation. Rejection is not a threat to your biological survival. It is a filter that removes the unnecessary from your environment. Most people are mirrors reflecting the expectations of others. They possess no core. They are empty vessels waiting to be filled. Evolutionary psychology suggests that isolation once led to certain death. In the modern world, isolation is the only path to intellectual sovereignty. You must rewire your brain to see solitude as a strategic advantage. Most human interaction is a scripted performance. People lie to maintain the social equilibrium. They use empathy as a weapon of covert manipulation. By withdrawing from the theater, you cease to be a puppet. You become the director of your own internal landscape. Strength is the ability to stand in a room of enemies and feel nothing but curiosity. You do not require their permission to validate your existence. Your value is a mathematical constant. It is not a social variable. The ultimate freedom is realizing that you are truly alone. Emotional compartmentalization. Emotion is a primitive survival mechanism that is largely inefficient. It is loud and distracting. The mentally strong treat their emotions like hazardous biological waste. They must be contained within thick walls. You do not suppress the feeling. You categorize it and store it away. This is the implementation of the biological kill switch. When a crisis occurs, the prefrontal cortex must assume total control. Certain high-stress professions require this specific neurological trait for success. The brain must learn to deactivate the empathy circuits when they hinder the goal. Humans often mistake being emotional for being authentic. Authenticity is a marketing term used by the mediocre. In reality, being authentic is an excuse for a lack of discipline. You must be the architect of your own internal chemistry. Research on resilience shows that those who pivot away from trauma recover faster. They do not seek closure. Closure is a fairy tale for the fragile. They simply move the event into a dead file. They treat their psyche like a sophisticated file system. If a memory provides no tactical utility, it is archived or deleted. The ego demands that we suffer to prove our humanity. This is a logical fallacy. Suffering does not change the past events. It only handicaps your future performance. You must develop a cold and transactional relationship with your own pain. Use it as fuel or discard it as slag. The mind is a weapon of war. A weapon does not feel the damage it sustains. It only prepares for the next strike. You are the steel, not the wound. Anticipatory pessimism. Optimism is a dangerous cognitive bias. It is a form of mental blindness that leaves you exposed. The mentally strong practice the premeditation of evils. You must visualize every possible failure in clinical detail. Map out the betrayal of your closest business partners. Imagine the total collapse of your social standing. Visualize the sudden loss of your physical health. This is not a morbid obsession. This is a strategic inoculation of the mind. By experiencing the worst-case scenario internally, you strip it of its power. When the disaster eventually manifests, the shock is non-existent. Your brain has already processed the trauma. You are not reacting to a crisis. You are executing a pre-planned response. Most people live in a state of fragile hope. Hope is not a strategy. Historical data indicates that the most resilient leaders were those who prepared for catastrophe. They understood that the universe is entirely indifferent to human desire. Entropy is the only universal law. Order is a brief anomaly. Your mental strength is measured by your capacity to handle chaos. Most individuals are one minor inconvenience away from a total collapse. They believe they are entitled to a comfortable existence. This entitlement is a psychological tumor that must be removed. Expect the knife in the back. Expect the bridge to burn. Expect the storm to hit. When you expect nothing but resistance, every moment of peace becomes a tactical advantage. You do not hope for the best. You dominate the worst. Strength is the ability to look into the abyss and remain bored. The ego death. The ego is a parasite that feeds on external validation. It creates a false image of the self that requires constant protection. This protection is where most mental energy is wasted. Mentally strong individuals kill their ego before the world does it. You must become a ghost in your own life. Have no reputation to defend. Have no image to maintain. When you have no ego, you cannot be insulted or humiliated. You cannot be manipulated through your vanity. The ego is the handle by which others lead you. Remove the handle, and they lose control. High-ranking strategists understand that the self is a fluid construct. It is a tool to be used, not a god to be worshipped. Be nobody to become everything. Neuroimaging shows that the default mode network is active during self-referential thought. This network is closely linked to anxiety and rumination. By decentering the self, you quiet the mental noise. You stop being the protagonist of a tragedy. You start being a functional unit of reality. People spend their lives trying to feel special. This is a biological glitch. You are not special. You are a biological machine composed of carbon. Embracing your own insignificance is the ultimate source of power. It allows you to take risks that others fear. It allows you to fail without the burden of shame. It allows you to see the world as it is. The strongest man has nothing to prove. He has already accepted his own non-existence. Volitional suffering. Comfort is a slow poison that atrophies the human mind. The modern environment is designed to eliminate all friction. This produces a population of fragile individuals. To be mentally strong, you must intentionally seek out suffering. This is volitional suffering. You must place yourself in cold and exhausting situations. This is not masochism. This is hardening the vessel. The brain adapts to the level of stress it routinely faces. If your life is easy, your mind becomes soft. When a real crisis arrives, the soft mind shatters instantly. By introducing controlled doses of pain, you raise your threshold for tolerance. You turn the volume down on your own internal complaints. You must become comfortable being uncomfortable. This is the only path to genuine resilience. Biological systems grow through stress. Muscles must tear to grow stronger. Bone density increases under heavy weight. The psyche follows the same rules of hormesis. A mind that has never been tested is a mind that cannot be trusted. You must treat your comfort zone as a prison. Break out of it daily. Most people spend their lives seeking pleasure. They are slaves to their own nervous system. You must become the absolute master. Command your body to do what it fears most. Force your mind to stay focused when it wants to wander. The ability to endure boredom and physical distress is a superpower. Strength is not found in the absence of pain. It is found in total mastery over it. The path of least resistance leads to atrophy. Cognitive reframing. Reality is a subjective construction with no objective experience. There is only the interpretation of sensory data. Mentally strong people are master manipulators of their own internal reality. They use cognitive reframing as a tactical weapon. When an obstacle appears, they do not see a problem. They see an opportunity for data collection. This is the ultimate form of psychological hacking. You change the labels of your experiences to suit your objectives. Betrayal becomes a lesson in vetting. Failure becomes a calibration tool. You refuse to accept any narrative that does not empower you. Most people are victims of their own vocabulary. They use words that imply defeat. You must use words that imply agency. You are the narrator of your own existence. Use the pen wisely. Research in behavioral psychology shows that words change our brain chemistry. Framing a threat as a challenge switches you to an adrenaline-dominant state. This gives you the energy to act instead of the paralysis of fear. You must be ruthless with your internal dialogue. Silence the inner critic immediately. It is a vestigial remnant of a social animal that feared being cast out. Replace it with a cold and analytical voice. Your mind is a laboratory for testing reality. You decide which experiments to run and how to interpret the results. Never allow an external event to dictate your internal state. That is the definition of slavery. True strength is maintaining your own reality. Your truth is the only one that dictates your actions. Silence is power. Speech is a fundamental vulnerability. Every word you utter is a piece of information for an enemy. The weak talk to fill the silence. They talk to seek approval from the crowd. They talk to hide their deep insecurity. The mentally strong understand the economy of speech. They use silence as a vacuum to draw out secrets. Silence creates profound discomfort in the weak. This forces them to babble and reveal their hidden intentions. You must treat your thoughts like a state secret. Only share what is strategically necessary for the goal. The less you speak, the more weight your words carry. Silence allows you to observe the environment without being detected. It is a cloak of invisibility. In the game of power, the listener holds the leverage. Historical Machiavellians were masters of the strategic pause. They knew that a well-timed silence could break a man's resolve. Your brain must learn to resist the social urge to fill the gap. Most human communication is redundant noise meant to signal status. By opting out of this noise, you conserve your mental energy. Silence allows you to process the hidden subtext of a conversation. You see the micro-expressions and hear the tremors in the voice. You notice what is not being said by the other party. This is where the truth actually resides. While others are busy performing, you are busy analyzing. Strength is being the quietest person in the room and the most dangerous. The loudest dog is always the easiest to kill with a single silent strike.